my chat window for TikTok in a place where I can see it. There we go. There we go. There we go. I think we're all good to go. All right, let's get started. We're a little bit late. It's 10:04, and thank you for taking the time to join me here at Cosmic Matters. And with Cosmic Matters, again, I am Matt Washington, the Matt of Cosmic Matters, and I created Cosmic Matters in the series to bring a different perspective to the world that we live in, and hope to entertain your brain for a little while on a Sunday. For me, it's a snowy Sunday. We are here in the Northeast. I'm out on Long Island. I know a lot of the country has been hit with snowstorms, as south as Florida and Texas and Alabama and Mississippi all got freezing rain and ice falling. And so we'll see. Today I already went out. I was driving. And it's funny, like every week I'm like, do I really want to do another? This is episode 21 of Cosmic Matters. Like, do I need to do another one today? I'm kind of tired. I got a lot of stuff I'm doing. I'm trying to create another community of Bright Futures, which if you're interested in that, where I talk about wealth building and investing, completely different topics. And I'm building that community on School, and I got a lot of videos and a lot of work I'm putting into that and building the website. And I'm like, do I really do this on a Sunday? But every single time I have that thought, I either meet somebody, or like I just had a job interview yesterday with a French gentleman who runs a large edible flowers and microgreens. I guess, I don't know. It's not, obviously not a brewery. What is it called? A cultivator? Anyway, had a good interview with him. And then I ended up kind of mentioning my podcast. He was like, "Ooh, I want to listen to the podcast." So I'm like, all right, I got to do the podcast, right? And so here we are again on a Sunday. And I always like, am I gonna have a topic? What am I gonna talk about? I feel like I've talked about everything. And all of a sudden I have the universe says, "Hey, here's a thought." And so I had some thoughts about time and what happens with time, what time actually is, how we look at time. Is it a real thing? Is it just part of the illusion? And we'll get to that as I go through. And and I guess I got to lay some basic groundworks of what I understand time to be. And there's a wonderful, I think I have the video on my YouTube page. I have it favorited. And by the way, just so you know, we're live on stereo. We're live on YouTube, Philosopherman76, and we're live on TikTok, also Philosopherman76. And do this every Sunday from 10 to 12, even though every week I feel like I'm not going to do it, but here I am. And it's funny because as more and more people join and find join the lives here, all the stuff I say in the beginning is kind of fundamental to what I'll be talking about later. So I'll probably have to recover this, but it is what it is. So there's a video. It is called, I don't know what it's actually called on YouTube. I have it saved. Let me see. Let me check real quick. Let me check on this computer. But it's basically, it used to be called the 10 dimensions of time, or the 10 dimensions, basically. Time being one of the dimensions, the fourth dimension. And I'm going to see if I can find that video so I can link it here. But the concept of the video is, it goes through what are the different dimensions that we have. And he talks about the first dimension, which is a point, which I never understood the value of a point. So if you think of the first dimension as a point, which is no depth, no height, no width, and it's like, okay, well then what actually is that, right? But if you take a point and then you make another point and you draw a line from one point to another, which a line is also a significant number of points that have no depth, width, or anything. So when people say, "Oh, you can't get something from nothing," I'm like, I never understand that. I'm like, everything comes from nothing. Everything. you can't have something without nothing, and you can't have nothing without something. The sound you're hearing coming into your eardrums is coming out of nothing, coming out of empty space. So oh, I have commenters. I have the comments up there, but why can't I see them? Oh, that's why, because I'm over here. Oh, hello, Mr. Super High Man. By the way, if you want to come up, you're more than welcome to. And hello, hey, something or other. Yes, but how can you something again? If it's a beginning to the next point, then that point is nothing as well, right? So I don't want to go into a whole conversation about nothing, how everything comes from nothing, but it does. We talk about this all the time, and this is the illusion that we allude to a lot. But so the first dimension is basically either width or length, whichever one you want to choose. A flat plane, or excuse me, a line with it's just one dimension, right? So it's either width without depth, with basically a line, right? So now when you draw a perpendicular line, now you get the second dimension. You get length and width, right? So now we live in the third dimension, where if you now draw a third perpendicular line, you get height, right? So, but if you think of what the third dimension is, and this is all portrayed in that video. I forgot that I was gonna look it up, but then I need a Jamie, like whatchamacallit. I need a guy in the chair. So I'm just basically explaining what the video is that I'm alluding to. But now you have the first dimension, you have the second dimension, and you have the third dimension. And this is where we're going to get to time. And the third dimension is literally just an object going through a lower dimension is always segmented up, right? And in our best understanding of time is looking at how a third dimension object goes through a second dimension object, because the fourth dimension is time after height, depth, and width, length, and depth. Excuse me, height, width, and length. Sorry, keep throwing depth in there. Depth is really the same as width. So now, if you understand the idea of the third dimension passing through the second dimension, right, then you'll understand the concept of the third dimension, or the third dimension, or the fourth dimension passing through the third dimension, right? So the example they use is if you had like a flat, like if you thought of something in the second dimension, just a flat, like think of like a piece of paper or a playing card, and you were looking along that playing card, that flat dimension. All you would ever see is lines. You would see a line get wider and shorter, no matter what it was, right? So if you think of like a ball falling through from the third dimension, going through the second dimension, right? So like think of your flat plane, you have a ball, it's coming down and it's going through. What are you going to see? You're going to see cross sections of that ball, right? So the first thing you're going to see is a little dot, right? Just as the point of well, it's not really a point of a ball, but as the first part of the ball hits your dimension, you're going to see a little dot. And then what happens is that is going to expand. And it's going to expand wider and wider as the ball falls through, because you're taking cross sections of the ball down, down, down. And then that line will get wider and wider and wider until it hits basically the diameter, the equator of that ball, right? And then so the line would get longer, it would stop, and then it would start getting shorter, and then it would go out of existence. Now, to someone who is in the second dimension, they would see that, and they wouldn't think of a ball. Like it wouldn't really make sense to them. A ball concept wouldn't be clear. it's just like a line. Like all I saw was a little dot and a line and then a little dot again. So trying to understand the concept of a ball, trying to explain it, like saying, well, it was round. It's a round spherical thing. To someone who's on the second dimension would say, I don't understand what you mean by round. What is round? It's a line. It's just a line. It's straight. There is no round. Actually, I mean, could you even see round on the second dimension? I mean, you would see, I guess you could see depth, but you couldn't see it from the height. You would have to have some kind of color, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. How would you see depth unless you kind of walked around? Like if you saw a line looking straight on and then you walked around it, like if you were looking at it straight on, the ball was falling, and then you walked maybe 90 degrees, you would still see a line. Basically, you would still see a line. You would just see the line tilting. You would see the curvature of it. It wouldn't exist. So I don't really think, I don't know. Could you see a line? Could you see a round? Could you see a curve on a second dimension? I've never even thought about that. So great. So let's say, so let's move on to the next thing. So the next point is that I'm trying to get to is when you look at time, when you see something from a fourth dimension, going through the third dimension, what we're seeing here is just cross sections, right? So a fourth dimensional object coming through a third dimension, we would see cross sections of that. Now, what would that look like? It would look like what you're seeing right now. You see me and everything that's around you right now. I'm seeing water and my phone and these other screens and monitors. All of this is just one cross section. And the way I like to think about it is as if you're looking at a flip book, right? Like, you know how like when they used to do old cartoons and you would draw a picture and then you would draw another picture and draw another picture, another picture, another picture, but they would be slightly changed. And then you flip through the book and then it looks like it gives you the illusion of things moving, right? You can make it look like the stick figure is walking, across the page, but all you're really seeing is cross section, cross section, cross section, cross section at a rapid pace, right? So what if you could make that rapid pace so fast that it fast as fast as the speed of light? Wait a second, I'm getting somewhere. Hold on a second here. So and here's why I'm saying that's kind of interesting. Because when you are actually yes, but you're not. So we don't even know if there are fourth dimensional beings, right? So, or the beings that would live outside, or we maybe live in the fourth dimension. But let's just stay with the third dimension. And if those pages were flipping at the speed of light, then all this movement that you're seeing, right? So we know, like all these stars that you see back here, what we do know is as something approaches the speed of light, it slows down, right? For its own perspective. From its perspective, as you move, as you go faster, anything that's going faster, time slows down for them. So I haven't put this. I'm talking through this live right now. This concept here that I just thought of because I was thinking of the flip book moving at the speed of light. Because, like, so for example, when we have satellites, like the reason we have GPS and the reason why you can look at your clock and we all see the same time is we've calculated for time dilation based upon the speed of the satellites going around the Earth, because the satellites are going around the Earth at ridiculous speeds. Actually, let's figure out. How fast are satellites moving? Right. And they have to move in pretty fast because satellites are still caught in the gravitational pull of Earth. However, they're just moving so fast that they don't fall quote unquote, they are falling, but they're quote unquote don't fall down to the ground. They just continue to circle the Earth. All right. So let's see. Satellites travel incredibly fast, but their speed varies based upon altitude, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The ISS goes around the Earth at 17,000 miles per hour, 17 and a half miles per hour. While geostationary satellites much higher up move around 7,000 miles per hour. Much higher up move slower. I wonder why. Huh. Okay, whatever. I'm not going to contemplate that right now. Hey, what's going on? So some people knocking. So here's the point. So they understand that these satellites, the reason why we all see the same time, we're moving slower. We're not moving 7 to 17,000 miles per hour compared to those satellites. So that's how fast the satellites are going. We're not, by the way, we're all relative. Obviously, we're on the Earth and we're traveling and we're moving at I forget how fast the Earth rotates, but it's pretty fast. But that's moving 7,000 miles per hour faster than that, right? So what happens is, because the faster you go, time slows down for you. So what they do is they calculate that time dilation, and that's why your cell phone gets the right time, because they literally put that into the equation, right? That the satellite is moving slower. Time is going slower for that than it is for your phone. So they have to put that calculation, or you would constantly be late, because if you were getting the information from the satellite as far as what time it is, it'd be going slower than we are going on Earth, and your clock would constantly be going too slow, right? So they have to actually put that in to the calculation. So as things get faster and faster, they go slower and slower. Now, until they reach the speed of light. When they reach the speed of light, time stops completely, right? So we always say, meaning I, always talk about these stars, and even our star. Like when we look at the sun, it takes 8 minutes for the light from the sun to reach our eyeballs, right? So if you actually watch a sunset, you are not really, and you see the sun go below the edge of the Earth, right? Below the horizon, that actually is not, that's false. It actually, if you're watching the sunset, it's already set. Like if you watch the very last little bit of it go down under the horizon, that already happened. That happened 8 minutes ago, because what you're seeing is the sun in the past. This is taking time for the light that left the sun to reach your eyes, to reach Earth, right? So the point being is, and that's just one star. Now you look at these other stars that are, billion miles away, and billions and billions of miles, trillions of miles away. What we're seeing, the light that we're seeing, the funny thing about it is, because light travels at the speed of light, to the photon, time is stopped. So this light, for us, that takes a million years to get here to my eyeball, for the photon itself, it took no time at all. It was instant. The instant it was created on Alpha Centauri, on Betelgeuse, or any of these stars that are out there, the instant to the photon, not to us, because what we're seeing, because we're not moving at the speed of light. Only light moves at the speed of light. But to the photon, it instantly went from where it was to your eye, which would be millions of years for billions of years for us, but it went instantly for that, for the photon. So thinking about that, I was thinking about this. And so I thought of the concept of, if the universe is a whole, right? If everything in the universe is one thing, right? As I've said many times, right? I talk about, this is again from an Alan Watts thing, but that there is a, like if you think of the universe as the ocean, and you think of each individual person as a wave, right? The wave is just what the ocean is doing at the place that we call here and now. Like if I'm standing on the beach and I see a wave, I go, oh, look, it's a wave. But that wave is the entire ocean. There's no separateness from the wave and the actual ocean. But because it has features that we would call a wave, we suggest that thing is a thing, right? We say it's a noun. A wave is a person, place, or thing, right? So a wave is a noun, but really it's not a noun. I mean, it's a part, like this. It's the same thing as me saying I have a finger, but my finger is a part of my whole organism, right? So, but just because we want to give it's not a separate entity. There's no place that my finger ends and my hand begins. If you think there is, then please tell me where that spot is. And then if I move a half a micron north or south of that, is that now a finger or hand? It's an arbitrary line. All right. We make these arbitrary lines so we can communicate. All right. So we can have dialogue, but that's what language is. Language, separates everything, separates things, makes divisions so we can communicate, and we all have to agree on that language. But when you're talking about the reality of what's going on in this universe, there is no separateness. There's no something that ends and something that begins. Where does the wave end and the ocean begin? It's the same thing. It's just a part of the ocean. It's so the wave that's crashing on the beach here on Long Island is the same ocean of the wave that's crashing on the beach in the south of France. They're both the ocean. they're the same thing, right? But if I wanted to see that other wave, or even a wave down the street, even though both waves are crashing at the same time, right? If I wanted to travel from one wave to the other, just like if I wanted to travel from, my finger to my toe, it would take quote unquote time, right? But during that traveling, there's more flippings of the book, right? There's more fake movement. It's just a cross section. It's a cross section of the universe, right? But it's just how we're viewing it. Just like the book, the flip book, right? That makes it look like the animation is moving, but it's a trick to our eyes because it's literally just because each cross section is a new picture. That is what we are seeing going on in this universe. It's just a slight cross sections of the entire universe. It's already been all mapped out, but we're just seeing it in cross sections. And so therefore it gives the illusion of time. It gives the illusion of something going to something, moving to someplace, of my hand moving across this table right now, or my lips moving, or anything. Now, this was a phenomenon that was brought up. I love to talk about paradoxes, right? This was a phenomenon that was brought up by Zeno. And I talk about the same paradox all the time, but when he talks about he believed that there was no such thing as movement. There was no such thing as that the movement didn't happen, time didn't happen. Everything was an illusion. And he proved this mathematically by the paradox of the midpoint. And he said if you have point A, and so mathematically if you have point A and you have point B, there is a midpoint, point C. But between A and C, there's a midpoint of D. And between A and D, there's a midpoint of E. And you can keep doing this infinitely. So there's an infinite amount of points between any 2 points, because points don't have any width or depth or height, right? They don't, they're which, so there's an infinite amount of them. So how do you move? How do you make an infinite amount of moves, right? To get from any point to any other point, right? But yet in the illusion that we're living in this dimension, we move, right? We can do it, but mathematically it's not possible. Now let's think about that. Are we really, because in order for there to be time, and in order for there to be time, you need space, right? Like it needs to be there needs to be a division. There needs to be a separation of things to exist for time to exist. So I'm still trying to put this whole flip book going at the speed of light, and why, when something hits the speed of light, it doesn't move anymore, right? Like, it's going so fast that time stops existing, right? So we know time stops existing at a couple of instances. We know time doesn't exist when you're moving at the speed of light, and we know time does not exist when um we know time does not exist when you get to the center of a black hole, right? Where there's so where there's no space, because at the center of a black hole there's no more space. There's no more. When I say space, I don't mean like outer space. I mean like anything between the molecules, right? There's no anything, right? There's Everything has been squished down into one particular point with no space. So with no space, there's no time needed, and and so if you flip that and we go to light traveling at the speed of light, where there's no more time, then it would make sense why there is no more space, why there's no movement from one instance to the next, because it's going so fast. There is no, I'm trying to comprehend this. So like, that's why light is moving so fast that there is no time anymore, right? So it immediately, to it's run it there isn't, space doesn't exist anymore. It could go across the universe billions of years, billions of miles, trillions of miles instantly, because there is no space component anymore, because it's reached the maximum limit of speed. The flip book is going at so fast that you see the whole book at one time. Oh my! So you see the whole flip book in one instant, right? Because it's gone to that speed. It's gotten that fast. I need to process this a little bit more. So you guys are witnessing me coming up with this concept, live. So excuse me if it doesn't sound too polished, as to say. So where I was going before with the ocean, so the thing that made me think of this topic to even talk about was, I was thinking about a wave crashing on Long Island and a wave crashing somewhere in Europe, somewhere in Africa, someplace else, South America, all coming from the same ocean. Because it's all the same ocean, all those things are happening at the same time, right? Even though we would see them at different times, if we went from one to the other, it would take time to get there. But if we're saying the ocean is the universe, the entire universe, and we are all a part of the entire universe, then everything is happening at the same time. So even these points of light, when we look and we're seeing these stars millions of years in the past, because that's how long it's taken the light to get to us. Like, when we look at the stars, we're not seeing the stars as they are today. We're seeing the stars as they were. Like, if there were civilizations around these stars, we would be seeing them millions of years in the past. I think somebody said something like, from a certain star, they were like, if they looked at planet Earth from whatever star they were talking about, they would still think, like the dinosaurs are roaming here. Like, that's how long it would take for light to get there, these millions of years. And so they wouldn't even know all this other stuff has happened yet, if they could look at our planet, somehow that way, through really super telescopes or whatever. So my original concept that I was coming up with, or I was thinking about, is that the whole thing is an illusion. And why did I come up with that? I was saying it's a fake concept that helps us have our story. It's a fun story that we're going through life and we're walking around and we're talking to each other, and this and this and this is happening. But in reality, the whole ocean is just moving around in itself. Hmm. All right, I had it for a second and then I lost it as I was going through. Um, hmm. Like, so when we look up at the stars, we're seeing in the past, but that past, but the light takes no time to get here. So to the actual light, right, which is a part of the universe as well, it hasn't, it left and got to me at the exact same time, even though in relation to me at my speed that I'm going, if I was to to recognize that light, like let's say something, to put this in a shorter time span, like all right, so like I'm moving my hand in front of my face, all right, it takes time, even though it's so short of a time because light goes so fast, and I'm not, my perceptions are not um designed to see the difference, but there's a certain amount of time for my finger to move and for that light to reach my eye, to get registered in my retina, in my brain, as my finger is moving, right? So, but because it's such a short distance and because light travels so fast, it doesn't look like it looks like it's happening at the same time, but it's not. Me seeing my finger move and my finger actually moving, there is a component of time that I'm looking into the past. I'm always looking into the past. I'm never seeing what's happening right now because it takes light time to get from one spot to the other because there's distance involved. Again, to the light, it's not taking any time, but to me, it is. Hmm. But the light is me, right? It's how we're perceiving it. So, and so the other aspect I wanted to get to this is the concept. I'm mulling it over. I'm trying to. If somebody wants to help, feel free. Um, but the other part of this is when we talk about the present time, like right now, what does that mean, right? Because if we look at time as things in the past and things in the future, and there's a moment in the future that's coming right now that I'm heading towards, and it's almost here. It's going to be here any minute, and here it is. It's here. Now it's gone, right? And so that that now part, the point where the future turns into the past, which is the present. When is that, right? Is that an actual, like, it's so infinitesimally small. When is it? Or is it always? Or is there no future and past? Because the only reason that we think there's a past is because we remember it, right? We have this concept of there was these things that happened that led us to the point right now, and those things that happened to lead us to now are the past, right? But if we misremember the past, right? Because the only idea of the past is in our memories, right? So if no one remembered, if every, I think of the show or the movie 50 First Dates, right? Where like every day she wakes up and it's a whole new, like her mind erases. She doesn't remember anything, any new information. No new information gets put into her brain because she got in an accident, right? And so her short-term memory never turns into long-term memory. So if you woke up every single day and anything you did that day was forgotten, by you, there then they're not making any does time really exist then? Are time happening for you? Now, we want to say that we see rocks, like it doesn't just exist in our minds, right? We want to say we see other things outside of our minds that would constitute time moving forward. But the thing is do those things, I hate to say do they exist, because we'd have to go into a discussion of what exist means. But to you, right? All the outside things of you, lowercase y, not uppercase y, are in relation to you. Like, you make these things exist, right? Like, if your eyes didn't exist, I wouldn't be able to see the snow. Right? I might be able to feel the snow, but that's only because I have senses to feel these things. So outside of that, this is, the thing of, like, when you die, like when you do, or before you were born, if you don't want to be as morbid, did time exist? We want to say yes, because when we came into existence, we our parents were here and there was things going on, but to you it didn't exist. See, and so now when I get to the point of the perspective thing, right? Because we talked about, to the actual photon, no time passes, right? And photons, we know photons exist, right? But to them, time is moving at different speeds for at different intervals all over the place. So how, like, we only track time because we agree upon certain things. We agree what a second is. We agree upon what a minute is. We agree upon an hour, a year, or whatever, which annoys me about sci-fi movies. It always annoys me when they say, oh, this thing, it's been, and they'd have aliens talking about years. Well, what would an alien know what about a human year is? A year is just how many days is it or how long it took our planet to go around the sun, and then we measure that by how many times our planet spins around. If our planet spun faster, it would be less days. If the planet orbited faster or slower, then it would be a different amount of days, right? A year doesn't make sense to anything but humans, right? Oh, that's okay. Get better, Soup. So I'm only going to be on here for a short amount of time anyway today. So a short episode, because I haven't fully formulated these concepts and ideas, and I'm just throwing them out there as something to think about, because I really don't think time is. Oh, what's up now, yourself? I really feel that time is not a thing. It doesn't exist. It's part of the illusion that we are playing on ourselves to create good stories, right? Just like a picture book, just like a movie, just like a movie frame. It's really the movie reels. It's enjoyable to the universe, to us, to have fun stories, which would then happen over a course of time. But in reality, is time existing? I don't know. I don't think so, because it's different everywhere. It's different. And then if the entire universe is us, when I say universe, I mean the entire universe, meaning the multiverse, meaning everything, all the universes and all the black holes everywhere. How could it exist? Because there's no, if everything is one thing, then there really isn't any distance. It's all the same thing, right? Like, so in episode 3, I talked about if our universe is inside of a black hole, right? And there's a lot of evidence saying that our universe is inside a black hole. And I just got finished saying that inside a black hole, time doesn't exist, because there's no space. There's no there's no separateness to allow time to exist. So once the oneness of a black hole expands into what would be a universe, which would be a big bang, which for every universe, right? On the other side of the black hole, now time starts because there's an expansion of the universe, right? Because now there's once you have some space between two things, you need time to get there from one to the other. But if the entire universe is in a black hole of another universe, then really there is no, like, it's an illusion. The illusion that we have of time is, it's all based on different speeds, different things, we all have different ideas of that concept of time, but there is no time, like, right? Like I just proved with the paradox of the midpoint, right? Like it's like mathematically, you're not going anywhere. It's impossible to go anywhere. So where's this game coming from? This illusion of, but then you have to start thinking about what is the reality of it. Like if I was a two-dimensional thing trying to talk about a curve or a ball, or a three-dimensional thing to the two-dimensional thing, that isn't a reality, right? So for the three-dimensional object, three-dimensional thing like us, the reality of the fourth dimension, we just can't perceive it properly because we don't understand it. We don't get to see it. We're not, our faculties of understanding and surviving and how we've evolved to perceive the planet or the earth or the space or whatever, the environment that we live in to keep us alive, doesn't understand concepts that are fourth dimensional concepts, because we don't live in the fourth dimension. We live in the third dimension. Right? So it's having a challenging time getting through this concept because I'm trying to work it out while live, which I probably shouldn't do. I'd probably try to figure it out. If anybody has any thoughts about this, one just came through. Let's see what Worm has to say about this whole thing.
What is time, really? It's a construct. It's in your mind. It's not real.
Okay.
The illusion of progress. Even when there's real progress, it's just an illusion. Change. Measurement of change. The rate of change. Without change, time would be meaningless. I think this message is kind of meaningless, but shout out to you.
No, not meaningless at all.
What do you think of time dilation? What, are you fully dilated?
Yeah, we were just talking. I was just talking about time dilation before you jumped in here, Worm. And I was just talking about how that that because time dilation exists, it's just more evidence that time is a made up concept. It's us traveling through as a third dimensional being, traveling through. Well, actually, see, because I want to think of, when I think of like the third dimensional being traveling through a second dimension, and then the second dimension observing it. So I want to keep that consistent. So I don't want to say we're a third dimensional being traveling through the fourth dimension. It would have to be the fourth dimensional traveling through the third dimension, right? And is that what we really are? Are we really fourth dimensional beings traveling through the third dimension? No, that don't work either. Yes. Okay. I understand that, Patriot Ware. So the comment was, time is a concept of man. I think you meant a conception of man. Without man, time wouldn't exist. I get that. But man didn't exist. So let me just because I'm a I have a problem, and it's called disagreeable, right? I always devil advocatism. Is that a disease? So let me play the other side of that. Um, if before man existed, dinosaurs, right? We want to believe dinosaurs were around and plankton was around and the earth was around and things were going. So the concept of time, like the word time, the sounds are the syllables that come out of your mouth when you say time, that creates a understanding in our brain of what we are talking about, because we again nothing really exists. There's only one thing, but we segment it to make to make it understandable so we can communicate, right? So sure, the concept of time, like keeping time, seconds, minutes, hours, all this stuff, this is all language, this is all accepted um measurements that we use, that we all agree upon, just because it makes it easy for us to, it's a tool, right? It's a tool to, it's like when people explain into how the universe expands. They say, oh, if you take a balloon and you blow it up and you took a black balloon and put white dots all over it and you blew it up, it would all expand every place at the same time. But that doesn't mean the universe is a balloon. It's just a tool we are using to explain a section of the universe, right? We're explaining the expansion. There's a lot more to it. So when you're saying the concept of time is man-made, then I think the measurement, the tool of time, of measuring time, is man-made. But the passage of one instance to another instant, we believe still happen without man, right? We still believe that things were happening. If all men died, if all human beings, if the earth went away, the earth got hit by, I just actually watched Deep Impact yesterday, which was kind of, haven't seen that movie in a long time. But if the earth got wiped out and extinction, we still believe that the universe would continue moving on in the same way that it is, right? So you've made a lot of comments. I don't know if you're commenting to me, or why is my screen so small? Let's make this bigger, so potentially I can. No, I just made. All right, so let me see. What else have we said here? There's no other side to play. I don't know. Get to the point. If you have one, you're jumping all over. Duh. There's a problem. You watch movies. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know movies were a problem. I wish I could get to the point. I wish I had a point to get to. That'd be nice. Let me make this smaller again. Just enlarge my screen for a bunch of dumb comments. Let's make that small. There we go. Yeah, there's, so where I'm trying to get to is time a real thing or not? Or is it just a what's the word I'm looking for? Not a symptom, an effect, maybe? Is it just an effect? Is it a rising property? Is it just a property of third dimension that time seems to be existing, right? Because I think if you're in the fourth dimension of time, right, if you are a fourth dimensional being, everything would happen at once, right? The third dimension is just seeing cross sections of that. So if everything happened at once, like your entire life, you're born and dead at this, all at once, there was no time. Oh, how interesting would that be? Would that be interesting to the universe? I don't know. Oh boy. Let's see what we got. Worm, help me out.
Here's the concept. Right? So we're traveling, right? We're traveling fast, right? When you're on the ISS, you're traveling like 0.007 seconds slower. No, not slower. I gotta put this you're experiencing
Time at a slower rate.
At a slower rate than everyone. So basically, you're going to be a little younger once you get down from the International Space Station. And don't mind my dog. And how far away would we have to be from the center of the Earth, or how fast would we have to be moving? Is time dilation? Hold on. First of all, is time dilation a perceptual thing, or is that real? Is that really making it so that we can escape 0.007 seconds worth of aging? I guess I gotta look into this more.
No, there's an actual. It was a really interesting video that I have saved. Maybe I'll pull it up next week. On that explained time dilation pretty clearly for someone who is not like myself, who is not. Let me see if I can get it, but it was really. Let me see. It was in reactions. Maybe let's see. Playlists. But the point being is, yes, no, you're actually right as far as that's happening. That's why when you travel at the speed of light, when you reach the actual top limit as how fast you could actually go, time stops altogether for you. So if we could get to the speed of light, then we would not age at all. Of course, the you would be gone because light is you would lose all your mass. All mass would be gone. So that's kind of the problem. How do you reform? How do you get the mass back if you travel at the speed of light? And the cool thing is, if you could travel at the speed of light, you could actually travel anywhere in the universe. The amount of time that it took you to get there wouldn't matter to you, because it would be like you would instantly get to wherever you wanted to get to. Like if we wanted to get to the other side, wanted to get to stars that would take billions of years to get to, we would get there traveling at the speed of light instantly. So it'd be no problem. The problem would be trying to get back. When you got back to Earth, even if you instantly went there and instantly came back here, you would have no time have passed. But the Earth and everybody else, we would be, a billion years in the future. Humans might be gone. There might not be any Earth anymore when you got back. That's the whole issue. All right. Know thyself.
Yeah, I agree that time is an illusion. Time does not exist. It's a concept, something that we gave measurement to, give it a scale, in the same way that we've done that with pretty much everything else. Everything that we know, everything we've been educated about has come from a concept, an idea, something, words to explain something so that we can understand it better. As a matter of fact, that movie Lucy, I think she explains it really well when she says we shrunk everything down to a human scale so that we can forget its unfathomable scale.
Right.
It's just easier for us, I guess, to put it into a box so that we are more comfortable understanding something that we truly don't understand. But the more we give a concept, the more comfortable we feel with it.
Yeah. And, this kind of gets to the whole thought process of, we already know all this stuff. The universe already knows it, but it's no fun. It's no fun if you know everything. It's no fun. It's only fun. It's only entertaining if you forget, and making, miniature parts of yourself, forgetting that you are the whole, so you can have a little entertainment. Considering what else you got to do, right? If you believe in the consciousness of the universe, right? All right, Worm. Maybe not. Try again. One more time.
Sure, but how do you travel the speed of light without achieving infinite mass? And the other thing about like wormholes and spaghettification is that you're probably going to need that flesh. You're probably going to need some of that mass inside. So
I know.
I don't know, man. Maybe it like takes you, like recombines you on this side, and or maybe you need a twin or something. So you're entangled in the quantum entanglement of having one spin, one, unit. You could just kind of like do your spooky action at a distance thing from here on Earth, and just control your proxy on the other side of the firmament.
Well, I mean, the only other so the one way to get from one place to the other, you'd have to get to the speed of light, and then no time would pass. I think even if you don't travel at the speed of light, so no time passes, you could travel very close to the speed of light, so time would slow down so much that you could still have your mass. I don't know how you would accelerate to that speed, but these are all engineering problems that no one has solved, and I'm not going to probably do on this podcast right now. But there are other ways. I think the other ways of getting these places is, when we talk about the warp drives and warping time space, so that you're in a bubble. Obviously, wormholes. I think traveling through the fourth dimension to some other place. So, because if everything is happening everywhere at the same time in the fourth dimension, if time doesn't move in the fourth dimension, if you don't go from one instance to the next, but it's a whole, then if you entered the fourth dimension in one spot and exited the fourth dimension in another spot, you would literally instantly travel from one place to another without the problem of aging, obviously, and then the problem of, like, we would have to go through the fourth dimension, and if we could do that, then we could go places and then come back and explore and then come back. Now, how do you do that? Again, the hows are not my well, they're not my problem. We'll ask the AI. Maybe the AI could figure it out. What is it? What's the thing called in Captain Marvel? The ultimate intelligence, the extremes, the supreme intelligence. I know Soup is yelling at the computer right now. Drink some water here. About the arrow of time? What does that mean?
Speak to me about the arrow of time.
I don't know what the arrow of time is. What does that mean? Is that a book? Time exists with this is Soup is talking to someone in the comments. Anyway, all right. I know some of you guys relate. Some of you guys enjoy this. I'm going to I got to wrap this up because I said I was only going to do an hour today, and it's 11 o'clock. And I don't really have much more to talk about. I want to talk about what I talked about. If you missed the beginning, I did a lot of time stuff in the beginning. But I'm trying to make sure that I'm here every 10 o'clock every Sunday. And I got to post some of these up. I'm putting this in front of my face. Sorry. I'm going to post some of these up on, keep continuing to post on Spotify. I think I'm like 3 or 4 episodes behind. But yeah, anyway, if I'm going to do some more, I do more research on this stuff. I try to bring it to you. I have these thoughts that go through my head that I go, I just want to talk about. So if I'm mulling through them or not getting to the point, I don't really have a point. I'm trying to find my point. So if that's something that you'd like to hear, the craziness of my mind and how I get from point A to point B, then this is the place that I do it. Anyway, where does the arrow of time come from? The arrow of time is the one-way irreversible direction of time from past to future, fundamentally driven by the second law of thermodynamics, where entropy increases. There you go, Worm. I do understand what that means, but I didn't come up with that. That was Soup typing. Soup is a little under the weather, as we all are under the weather. But anyway, with that being said, wherever you are, hopefully the snow did not, you're safe. I'm watching it snow at my window right now. I got to go and start doing some shoveling. But yeah, thanks again for joining me on a Sunday. And I will see you all next week and I'll talk some more. By the way, check out also, I'm going to be working on my Bright Futures. If you want to learn more about wealth creation and stock market and all that kind of stuff, you can go to my website, Matthew-Washington.com. And I'm still working on it, so don't go there. If you go there right now, you'll just see the beginnings of it. I'm still working on that, so I will be doing that as well. But I'll keep doing these Sunday little chit chats to talk about the spaciness of our mind. I know I'm getting out of here right now. Sorry about that. Thank you, Sue. Thanks for the heads up. I keep putting the phone in front of my face. Anyway, I'm wrapping up. I will see you all next week, and until then, stay safe and enjoy your week. Talk to you soon. Do 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 do.
How the fuck you finna do it like this? How the fuck you finna go in and shit? Down in this motherfucker with this shit. Kicking me with motherfucking 1, 2, going down, flow down in here too.
She didn't give him a son.
Well, there was a little bit more to it.
He's not going to ever understand how corny and how predatory he sounds. He will never understand because he's, like I said, he doesn't know how to socialize amongst other human beings. He's incapable of doing that. He's been inside for way, way, way too long. I like that.
There's a lot going on, you know, on this end.
People keep telling me how thick I done got, and I'm sitting there looking at him like, damn, that's not a fucking compliment.
Yeah, we get it. You're back. Oh my God.
Oh yeah,
Ah.
thank you.
Oh my God. We get it. Back. We get it. We get it.